Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new to my channel, thank you so much for checking me out. Today we're talking about the 2023 Toyota Highlander XLE. It's not a new generation, but it's gone through some big changes, and today we're going to check them out. So we'll start in the exterior, we'll work our way inside, we will talk about the way it drives, and then I want to know what you think about the changes after watching this video. Let's begin. So if you're looking for a 3-row SUV with reliability and safety, one of the vehicles that you're going to see on every single list is the Highlander. And with 24 competitors and at least 10 of them keeping the Highlander on its toes, there's no question as to why the Highlander is constantly changing for the better. So let's begin with the exterior. If you're new to the Highlander entirely, welcome to the video. The Toyota Highlander started since 2001, and ever since it's been a hit. It's gotten a little bit bigger since it's aged, but with this generation, it's been very successful because it now has smoother lines, but it still packs the punch with some muscle. And that muscle shows in the hood right over here. Be sure to check out my video on the 2022 because I definitely dive into the exterior a little bit deeper, because today we're going to focus a little bit more on the changes from the 22 to the 23. But continuing with the exterior, the LED headlights are going to be standard on any Highlander that you get. And when they push through this projector, they're going to help you see wherever you're driving, whether it be the suburbs, in the middle of the woods, or if you're doing a little bit of off-roading on the trails. What's also nice is the fog lights are also coming LED, which are going to match, and that's just going to enhance your nighttime visibility and the overall look of your Highlander. The front grille is not massive like you see on a lot of the newer vehicles. It's a normal size, as I like to call it, and they're doing a piano black from Toyota right out of the factory, which gives it a little bit of an elegant touch without looking like the RAV4 XLE hybrid that's painted with piano black everywhere. They just give you a little touch here and there of that piano black, which adds a nice little tasty touch. But just like on the 2022, you have the non-painted black here all around the wheel wells and down to the back. But you'll notice on the sides, like the Highlander, you don't have the non-painted like you would on the RAV4. I think the reason why Toyota did this just was for the point of styling. They must have thought that if you did a non-painted black here, it might make the SUV look a little too skinny, or it could even give you the connotation of cheapness. Yeah, I said that on certain vehicles, if you do too much of the non-painted, it might look a little cheap, and on the Highlander, I can kind of see where it would. So they went color matching on the rocker panels there. But the non-painted black here does serve a purpose. If you're out on the trails or you're kicking up salt and gravel, this is going to really take the damage a lot better than a painted surface would. For the XLE, you'll have an 18-inch alloy wheel. I'll try to get close for you so you can see. We have a magnetic gray metallic finish here, which is polished. And let's get real close, machined, which you can see is already playing very nicely with the light. Nice machine finish. I like to call these 5-spoke wheels the flowers. They look like flower petals. If you almost see it, looks like a little 5-petal flower here shooting out. I personally am not a huge fan of the style, but a lot of people do like these wheels. So everybody has different tastes. These are the wheels you're getting with any XLE Highlander. From the side, you have the nice muscular hips here in the back, and you'll see that the overall lines of the vehicle almost give you this presentation of the front being open and things coming together in the back, but still giving you that nice muscular rear to give you the feeling that the vehicle definitely has some power behind it, which we'll discuss when we drive it. But people like a more aggressive look, so it's nice to see some body lines instead of just a straight flat side on a vehicle. And just to show you the contour here, it's definitely got some hips. So depending on what color you get, it definitely plays very nicely with the different colors. White hides it a little bit more, but this is the ruby red flare pearl, which is a nice sparkly red that definitely adds a nice touch to the Highlander. Onto the rear, nothing has changed for 2023, but if you're new to the Highlander, it has this spooky-like look. The wing on the top here almost has some devilish horns, which is pretty cool. And you'll see there's definitely a variation in the different lines. They're not going boring and straight like you see on some of the competition. Toyota has added a lot of detail to the exterior here, and they didn't go cheap on the rear end. Onto the taillight, you have a slightly smoked crystal here for the reverse and turn signal. And what's nice that I can't show you now is that these taillights at nighttime are actually going to be a super bright LED bar, which is going to look really nice, and it's going to help with the visibility. Some people comment on the wiper blade being down here. You know, Toyota, why didn't you tuck it up? Why didn't you put it inside the wing like the Sienna? I think there's two reasons behind that. I think Toyota's thought process was, we don't want to develop a whole new wing and a whole new hatchback before the new generation comes, so we're just going to leave it the way it is. And also, Toyota's mindset on a lot of small things like this is easy to access, easy to repair, easy to access, easy to replace. With this, you'd have to bring it down, you know, do a certain thing. With this, you can kind of do it at home if you want to. It's just quick to access, quick to work on. If you need to wipe it down with a baby wipe, boom, done. Easy maintenance. When things are easy to get to, they're easy to maintain. And very large reflectors here, which definitely do catch the light at nighttime or different types of lighting, so it really does help with the safety. People can identify how large this vehicle is and how wide it is at different angles. Here's a quick view for you of the ruby red flare pearl in non-direct light. This is the shady side. Let's work our way around. I've never been a red car fan, but I will say Toyota does the red nicely. And they have to. I mean, their emblem is red, you know what I mean? When you go to any Toyota store, everything is red. Very nice. And I don't think the camera's going to do this color justice. The ruby red flare pearl is very sparkly and it changes. So on a cloudy day, which today is not, on a cloudy day, this almost becomes like a creamy cranberry and the sparkles almost hide. But in direct light, which the mirror shows the best, the red really does come to life. Let's pop the hood and talk about the changes in the powertrain, one of the biggest things that the Highlander has changed. New for the first time ever on the Highlander is a 4-cylinder turbo. We're still working with the 8-speed automatic transmission, but Highlander now has the 4-cylinder turbo, and for 2023 you will no longer be able to get the V6. So what does that mean about the power? That means you've gone down 30 horsepower, but you're up 47 torque. So the tow capacity stays the same. Yes, this vehicle does drive differently, but the big question is, what did this engine change do to the efficiency? The fuel economy has actually stayed just about the same. I think +1, you're still just under 30 on the highway with a blend of about 24. With the hybrid, the fuel economy is just about the same too. I think the hybrid version of this is going to get 1 or 2 more miles per gallon. So we've gone from 295 horsepower down to 265, but we've gone from 263 torque up to 310. So you might be wondering, well, why did Toyota go to the 4-cylinder turbo anyway if things are not that much drastically different? Well, there could be a couple different reasons. Now, I haven't sat down at the big tables, but I think one of the reasons is this is a great transition into the electric world. I mean, we're seeing engines getting smaller down the board as we transition into an electric driving world. Share your opinions on that down below. But I also think Toyota's mindset is, this is going to be a great platform to just expand on the fuel economy as a whole. And with smaller displacement engines with turbos, it's going to save on materials. And in a world where we're going through supply chain shortages, which I won't even dive into in this video, one of the answers can be decreasing the size of things and, you know, saving certain amounts of materials for a smaller engine. May have been something that motivated them, maybe not. If you have a little bit of insider information or you have an opinion on why Toyota went with the 4-cylinder turbo, share down below. Now let's dive inside the Highlander and talk about the cargo space. So with a simple push of the key fob or with the button just under the emblem, when the third row is up, you're greeted with 16 cubic feet of space. The third row easily folds down. You just got to hold this little lever up here until the headrest goes down. And now you have 48 cubic feet of room. And another great feature is the seat belts actually do clip right into the side here, so you're not snagging your things. I can also very easily fold down the second row by pulling switch number 1 and then switch number 2, and these seats both come down. And with both rows folded down, you now have 84 cubic feet of room to haul your stuff, turning this Highlander into a little baby pickup truck with its 5,000 pound tow capacity. To bring up my third row, I can just grab one of these little ropes. Keep in mind the headrest doesn't come up, so I just got to put it up, and I can even recline it a little bit so I have more comfortable rear passengers. The spare tire is secured underneath, but as I go into the cargo area, there's a little handle under here where I can lift up this tray for more cargo space for emergency gear or tools. And before we go inside the Highlander, this hatchback is actually height adjustable to 5 different heights, which we will discuss on the tutorial. Now let's go inside and talk about what it's like being a passenger in the new Highlander. We will start with the third row, work our way to the middle row, and then up to the front. So to get into the back row, all I have to do is pull up lever number 1, and the seat will actually disengage so that I can slide it forward and I can crawl right inside, which I am going to demonstrate for you real quick. Once I'm inside, I can just grab onto the seat and click it into the position that I want to. This row is back all the way, which you'd have to have a really small person back here. My seat is slightly reclined at 5'10". I'd be okay for a little bit here, but I probably wouldn't want to go cross country. You're going to save the third row, definitely for your smaller family members for sure. But there are cup holders. This doesn't flip open like it does on the minivans. I also don't have a USB plug back here. Onto my side, also no USB plugs, but I do have the cup holders. Decent size window for viewing. It's not too big, it's not too small. But like I said, if these seats are going to be back on my knees, I'm definitely going to get claustrophobic after a while, to which I'll answer with some air conditioner right here on my head. But these seats do slide forward and back, so depending on the size of the person who's in front of me, they can definitely slide these forward a little bit, which I'll show you. Say the person in the middle row was not as big, they can stop right there. And now I'm a little bit more comfortable just looking at this. I don't have anything on my knees. That's the third row. Let's get out of the third row and go into the middle row and talk about what it's like being in there. So just so you can see before I adjust things, this is the middle row seat back all the way, which would have been on my knees back here. This is the other half, the 60 portion, not the 40, that's forward to the point that would have made me more comfortable in the back. But do take note, that's not a ton of knee room for somebody my size. In fact, if I was to sit there, my knees would be digging into that seat. So realistically, this seat is going to be somewhere between the furthest and the closest position, somewhere around here, which means still I wouldn't have a ton of room in the back, but it would definitely be doable for somebody my size. But let me jump inside here and see. I have an excess amount of room, so I can definitely grab this little guy here and go forward. And this is just like I suspected, right before the all the way forward mark, and now I still have plenty of room, to which my third row occupants definitely got more room back there compared to this one. So with my middle row in a more realistic position for a family being hauled, I'd say I have about 7 inches of room here. Nice big window. Same little privacy shades here, which are not easy at first, but they do click into both. Just a little awkward with the gloves at first. There you go. No electronic mechanism to brake. Everything has stayed the same here for this model year. And a separate climate control for the AC system. So as a rear passenger, I can change my air direction. I can turn it off, my fan speed. I can even set it auto, kind of like a central air, and the temp. Now say I can't reach or I'm sleeping, the driver can actually change it all from right up there. This is the same too. I have my 2 USBs back here, 3 in the front for a total of 5, and a 1-piece all-weather floor mat, which is just the same as 2022 as well. Let's go into the Copilot seat, talk about what we think about being up there, and then go to the most important seat, the driver's seat. Here's what it's like being the co-pilot to a 2023 Toyota Highlander XLE. So a couple things I'll point out if you're new to the Highlander. Nothing special here, but nice to see. Courtesy lights, well, puddle lights, whatever you want to call them, so I can see where I'm stepping. Decent size here for the cards. Nice grip for the handle with a little bit of storage in here, and there's no hole for it to fall anywhere. This is a non-shiny chrome, so it's almost like a little bit of a brushed, but still has a little bit of a shininess to it. It's interesting. So it's going to reduce the amount of sun that shoots into my face. And also the Highlander badge here was done in black instead of gray, which I think Toyota chose to do that because the gray kind of got a little dingy looking, but the black will stay nice forever. Electronic passenger seat on the XLE level and up with no lumbar support, which is fine for most people. And this blacked out interior. So let's jump inside. Close the door. I'm going to keep it simple for you. Definitely a modern look. Not a ton of buttons after you play with this for a few minutes. It's an acquired taste for some people who are used to a more simple integrated design. Sometimes people ask if the screen folds down. This is what it is. This sparkly silver here kind of draws the eye up, and you're just swished over to the main star of the show, which is the 12.3-inch infotainment system, which is an upgrade from Toyota. It's pretty much the only upgrade that you can get on the Highlander, which we're definitely going to play with soon. We're going to play with that more in depth on the tutorial video, which will be a separate video, but we will play with that. And this nice darker sparkly silver here, kind of breaking up the black instead of just doing black on everything. Nice soft touch here, like the upgraded Corollas and Camrys. Definitely something I wish my Tacoma had. The material here is a little bit on the harder side, and then softer down below. More comfortable on the arms. Buttons are in a great place. Auto down and up all around on all four windows, which is nice. But yeah, see how the buttons are easy to get to. I don't have to search and find. And also a bypass mechanism for the door in case that door is locked, which is great. The glove box is a good size. It's not overly large, but if you take these books out, you can fit a decent amount of stuff. And there's also an additional storage area here. And yeah, this is what it's like being the Copilot to the Highlander. This is what it looks like. Really good visibility. Toyota took the mirror off the door corners from 2019 and put them on the door. That's all stayed the same. Let's go into the most important seat, the driver's seat, and talk about what it's like. This is what it's like when you just picked up your 2023 Highlander XLE. Beautiful. So you have your electronic power seat here. Well, that was redundant. You have your electronically operated seat with your lumbar support. Same style here to the floor mat. Locks into the floor in two separate locations so it never slides under your brake pedal. Similar storage to the passenger side. Like I said, auto down and up all around. All Toyota buttons that we know and love. Little storage thing, that stayed the same. Easy access to the hood and the fuel door. Let's close it up and start it. So with the smart key on me in my bag or in my pocket, I just push the brake, give this a little push, and we start up. So I'm just going to quickly breeze over some of the stuff here because you'll have to check out the tutorial video for the more in-depth information. But we have a quick easy reader for the speed and the RPMs. You have the MID, which is going to show you different menus. So you can see some very useful information. Really cool. You can even change some settings to Toyota Safety Sense. Easy to use, utilitarian design. Let me get the right angle here. You got these two main knobs for the two different temps because you do have a dual zone climate. Then you can control the rear climate just by hitting rear. Then you can operate the rear climate over there, see? So I can have three different temps, driver, passenger, and the rear. And then that goes right back to the front. For 2023, guys, so for my Toyota people, They took the wireless charger out of here, so it no longer flips up. I think some people found it kind of awkward. I was one of them. And they put it over here, which is a little bit more useful. But what they got rid of was the little hole to run your charging wire through, which makes sense anyway, because one, nobody ever knew what that hole was for unless they were told. And I had people that had Highlanders for several years that still did not know what that hole was for. It was to run your charging wire underneath so that it didn't snag on any of this stuff. So Toyota probably just figured that since people didn't get the hint, and maybe not enough people were instructing them what that was, they could just remove it. Secondly, I think why they did this was because now with wireless CarPlay, which you can see is active right now on the 12.3 screen, most people are not going to be plugging in immediately anyway, so there might be some USBs here that are not even going to be used for a while. In fact, they might not be used ever, because you can charge it wirelessly, you can toss your phone right on there, and then you have your CarPlay right on this screen, and you know your phone will be charging on the wireless charger while you operate everything from the screen. And now I have this removable shelf with much easier access without me hitting my elbow on that flip up wireless charger. I can even rest my arm here while I dig inside to get my stuff, which is a little bit more ergonomic in my opinion, because you used to have to flip up the wireless charger and it sat this high, and you'd have to do this to get inside instead of what was natural. So they made it now a little bit easier, which is great. Another quick change, the buttons, the locations here, the A off button, which turned off the auto start stop for the red lights when the engine turns off, that was moved over here, which I think is a convenient place to put it, because when you start the car up, this is a little bit easier to remember and to get to, and you don't have to look down and fish around this whole grid of buttons as to which one is the one you were looking for. The different drive modes stayed in the same place. Your multi-train select stayed in the same place. Little cubby here, that's all the same. But yeah, check out the 12.3 inch. This is what wireless CarPlay looks like on the large screen. So for 2022, you actually had kind of like a, well, let me show you real quick. Let's go back to the Toyota interface. You had kind of like an awkward digital climate control here that you could change to this side or that side, which was a slight redundancy because you still had all of these manual buttons for the climate control, which is what people prefer. Now you can just do some quick changes here to your driver settings and go where you really want to go, which is your Apple CarPlay, which is great because that's where you can access everything like your maps, your music. Android Auto is going to be the same, it's going to be wireless. So that's a quick tutorial there. I'd say the visibility is great, but we'll talk about that a little bit more during the drive. Let's take this Highlander for a spin and talk about how it differs from the coveted 3.5 liter V6. Let's go. All right, so this Highlander is the XLE, so it does not have the torque vectoring all-wheel drive that the XSE has. It's going to be the same all-wheel drive that the other XLEs from 2022 had. The main difference is going to be the way it sounds and feels when we drive it. So I'm going to start in normal mode, which is where most people are going to spend their time, and then I'll switch to sport mode to tell you how that's different. This is my first time driving the 4-cylinder, and I've driven a lot of the 6-cylinders, and I put a lot of miles on them from the rental fleet. Let's check it out. All right, so the engine is nice and warm. I'm going to give it almost full throttle. Yeah, so the power's there. Definitely sounds like a 4-cylinder. For the newbies, here's the wonderful visibility. But yeah, definitely sounds like a 4-cylinder. It feels like a 4-cylinder, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I will admit I might miss that V6 grunt a little bit. Let me slow it down a notch and go to sport mode. But this has more torque. It's interesting. You know, less horsepower, more torque. It's an interesting change. All right, sport mode. And I'll give it a little gas. Say I'm merging on the highway. Here we go. Full throttle now. Definitely had no issue getting up to speed. So yeah, it doesn't blow me back in the seat. You shouldn't expect that, you know, because we lost some horsepower but gained a bunch of torque. I think that's what's going to maintain the tow capacity. But I'm not let down. You know, like I said, I'm a sucker for the V6 grunt and feel. Definitely doesn't feel like it has the same substance that the V6 has. But yeah, let's just take this turn and I'll discuss further. Alright, so now I'm in sport mode, just giving it about half throttle, maybe a third throttle. Gets up to speed just fine. It sounds like a 4-cylinder. In fact, if you made an this is going to be funny because if Toyota ever heard this, they'd probably consider it. If you made an artificial V6 sound, I might not even realize it was a 4-cylinder because the power's there. Let me take a moment just to soak this in real quick. Yeah, the power's there. It doesn't feel less nose heavy to me. It feels just about the same. It feels just like a Highlander. I don't know, it's tough to even tell there's a 4-cylinder in here unless you had me, you know, it's the sound that's different. I'm gonna slow back down. Now I'm gonna speed back up. Yeah, I would say, I mean, I'm a Highlander guy. I've driven a lot of Highlanders. It's close. It's not bad at all. I think this is going to be a great platform to, you know, transition the world into hybrids. Let's get back to the store and conclude the video. Alright, so we checked out the 2023 Highlander XLE. And we started with the exterior, we worked our way inside, and we took it for a drive. After driving it, and I thought about it before I turned the camera back on, there is a slight difference that I want to discuss. Now that I'm looking back at the V6 did kind of put me in my seat a little bit more. It had that slight hesitation. It would downshift and kind of bounce into it, you know? This was a bit more of a instant like a smooth gradual increase in power. So, you know, that's what I noticed when I finished up the drive back to the store. They're close in power though. It's just the delivery of the power was a bit more smooth and gradually increasing on this, whereas the V6, it hesitates for a sec, downshifts, kicks in, and then you're blasting off. So take that for what you will. We will all interpret these vehicles differently. I think if you're in the market for a Highlander, you'll be very happy with this. And if you have a V6 Highlander and it's time for an upgrade soon, I think you'll be happy with this. And for those looking for the electric cars or the hybrids, definitely look into these. I think the Prime is coming soon in the future. But more importantly, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to check out the tutorial video. And if there's anything I missed that you want me to go over, comment down below, share your thoughts, and give me some feedback what the market is like out there, guys. You know, I've talked to people all over the world so far, which I feel blessed to. Share your experiences. But until then, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.